They thought winter would erase the evidence. They left two children in the snow on Christmas night, believing the cold would finish what cruelty began. But they forgot one thing. God does not look away. That night, help arrived not with thunder, but with steady footsteps, a disciplined heart, and a silent guardian who did not need words to protect the innocent. What followed was not revenge, it was justice. And when the truth came to light, those who hunted the weak learned that karma does not wait, and faith has teeth. Before we continue, share this story with someone who still believes in justice. Tell us where you are watching from in the comments, and subscribe for more true stories of courage, faith, and humanity. Blood on Christmas snow, snow fell hard over Flagstaff, thick and merciless, erasing roads, trees, and any trace of mercy the night might have offered. The forest road lay half buried, a narrow scar cutting through pine and ice. Wind hissed across the ground, driving needles of snow into anything still foolish enough to breathe outside. It was the kind of cold that punished hesitation. Near the edge of the road, two small shapes clung to each other. The girl was no more than 8, too thin for winter, too small to be brave by choice. Her dark brown hair hung in frozen strands around a pale face scraped raw by wind and fear. Her knees were sunk into snow, jeans stiff as boards, sneakers soaked through hours ago. She curled her body forward, arms locked tight around a bundle pressed to her chest. Inside that bundle was her brother, a newborn, weeks old at most. His skin had turned an alarming shade of blue-gray, lips trembling, breath shallow and uneven. Each rise of his tiny chest looked like it might be the last. Around them, boot prints scarred the snow. Adult boots, heavy, deliberate. They circled once, twice, then turned away. A piece of paper lay half-frozen beside the girl's knee. The ink had bled from melting snow, but the words were still readable. No one's child. The girl's lips moved, cracked and bleeding, forming sound the storm tried to steal. "Please," she whispered into the baby's blanket. "Please stay with me." Headlights cut through the white. A dark blue pickup truck slowed, tires crunching. The engine idled. For one unbearable second, it seemed it might pass them by. Then the door opened. Lucas Grant stepped down into the snow with a stiff movement, favoring his left leg. He was just over 40, tall, broad-shouldered, built like someone who had once been stronger and still carried the memory of it in his bones. His navy winter coat hung heavy on him, practical, worn at the cuffs. Beneath it, a red and black flannel showed through, faded from years of use. Jeans, boots, nothing flashy. His face was sharp-edged, square jaw, straight nose, a trimmed beard dusted with gray at the temples. Brown eyes that usually held quiet warmth now hardened instantly, scanning the scene the way they had once scanned kill zones. Lucas had learned long ago how to read violence after it had passed. He saw the boot prints, the note, the way the girl's body angled protectively, even as exhaustion dragged her down. Something old and dangerous stirred in his chest. Behind him, another presence moved. Rex stepped out of the truck without a sound. The German Shepherd was 5 years old, in his prime, black and tan coat thick against the cold, muscles coiled beneath it. His ears stood rigid, amber eyes sharp and intelligent, already mapping the dark tree line. A black harness wrapped his chest, the white patch stark against fur. Service dog, do not pet. Rex did not bark. He never did, unless it mattered. His body shifted forward half a step, placing himself slightly ahead of Lucas. Posture controlled, alert, not aggressive, ready. The girl looked up. Her eyes were wide, dark, too old for her face. Fear lived there, deep and practiced. When she saw Rex, she flinched, pulling the baby closer. "It's okay," Lucas said quietly. His voice was low, steady. The kind of voice that had once given orders under fire, the kind that didn't waste words. He crouched slowly, ignoring the protest from his damaged knee. Cold soaked through his jeans immediately. "You did good," he said to the girl, meeting her eyes. "You kept him warm." Her lips trembled. "They said," she swallowed, "they said winter would finish it." Rex's gaze snapped toward the forest. Lucas reached for the note, read it once, then closed his fist around it. His jaw tightened, muscle flexing beneath his beard. Not here, he thought, not tonight. He shrugged out of his coat and wrapped it around both children, tucking it in with practiced efficiency. His hands were large, scarred, steady. He lifted them together, careful of the baby's head, pressing them against his chest where his body heat was strongest. The girl gasped, a soft sound of surprise more than pain. "You're safe now," Lucas said. She didn't answer. She didn't trust words. Rex moved behind them, positioning his body between Lucas and the tree line, tail low, ears forward. Anyone watching would see only a man and a dog. Anyone who knew better would see a former Navy SEAL and a trained German Shepherd forming a perimeter. Lucas turned back toward the truck. As he took his first step, Rex froze. A subtle shift. Weight redistributed. Muscles tightening. Lucas felt it instantly. He looked up. Somewhere beyond the trees, snow crunched. Just once. The girl buried her face against the baby, whispering something frantic Lucas couldn't hear. Rex's eyes burned into the darkness, silent, promising. Lucas didn't look afraid. He looked resolved. And whoever had left those children to freeze had just made a mistake that would follow them out of the snow. The men who did not want witnesses, the cabin sat on the edge of Flagstaff like a thought no one wanted to finish. Lucas Grant drove the pickup through the falling snow with practiced caution, one hand steady on the wheel, the other bracing the bundled weight against his chest. Emily's breathing fluttered against his coat. Jacob's was worse, shallow, uneven, too quiet. Rex rode in the back, standing firm despite the cold, paws spread for balance, eyes never leaving the darkness behind them. Snow collected along his spine, melting slowly into his thick, black and tan coat. He did not shake it off. He stayed alert. Inside the cabin, warmth came fast and heavy. Lucas moved with controlled urgency, the same efficiency that once defined night operations in hostile terrain. He set Emily down near the fireplace, gently guiding her to sit. She obeyed without question, eyes fixed on her brother. Her small hands shook as she loosened the frozen blanket. Emily was thin to the point of fragility. Her skin was pale, stretched tight across sharp cheekbones. Dark hair, cut unevenly as if done in haste, fell past her shoulders. There was dirt under her nails, old bruises on her wrists, not fresh, familiar. Jacob whimpered once when the cold air touched him. Lucas stiffened. "Easy," he murmured, voice low. "I've got you." He checked the baby with careful hands, fingers gentle but precise. Years ago, he had learned battlefield triage. Tonight, it was a newborn instead of a wounded teammate. Different stakes, same focus. Emily watched every movement. You're not taking him," she said, the words tumbling out. "They always take him." Lucas looked at her then, straightened, met her eyes. "No," he said, "no one is taking him." She searched his face for cracks, for lies. She didn't find any. Rex positioned himself near the front window, body angled outward, ears pricked. His amber eyes reflected firelight as they tracked motion beyond the glass. He lowered his head slightly, the signal Lucas had learned to recognize without conscious thought. Someone was outside. Lucas felt it before he saw it, that old pressure between the shoulders, the instinct that never fully left men like him. He moved calmly, feeding small spoonfuls of warm broth to Emily first, then wetting Jacob's lips with careful drops. He kept his body between them and the door, always between. Emily swallowed with effort. "They said," she whispered, voice breaking, "they said winter would finish us, that no one would ask questions." Lucas's jaw tightened. "Who said that?" he asked. She hesitated, eyes flicking to the window. Rex's reflection stared back at her, unmoving. "Men," she said, "mean ones. They smell like smoke and metal." Lucas didn't smile. Outside, an engine growled low. A vehicle rolled past the cabin slow enough to be deliberate. Rex's posture changed instantly. His muscles tightened. Beneath his harness, a quiet, dangerous stillness settled over him. Not fear, calculation. Lucas rose, favoring his injured left knee but hiding it well. He moved to the window and peered through a narrow gap in the curtain. A pickup truck. Dark red. Rusted panels. No plates on the front. It slowed. Stopped. Emily's breath hitched. "They came back," she whispered. Lucas said nothing. He didn't reach for a weapon. He didn't need to. He stepped into view. The porch light illuminated him fully. Tall, broad, still as stone. A man shaped by discipline, scars, and decisions that could not be undone. Behind him, Rex stepped forward into the light. The dog's silhouette filled the window. Ears upright, eyes locked, the harness patch stark and unmistakable. Service dog. Do not pet. The truck idled. Inside it, someone shifted. Lucas held their gaze, even though he could not see their faces clearly. He wanted them to see him. He wanted them to understand. This was not a frightened civilian. This was not an easy solution left for the cold. This was a former Navy SEAL with nothing left to lose and children he had chosen to protect. The truck rolled forward again, slow, then faster. It disappeared down the road. Emily exhaled a sound that was half sob, half disbelief. "They won't stop," she said. Lucas knelt in front of her, lowering himself to her level, despite the pain flaring in his knee. "Listen to me," he said. "People like that don't scare me." Rex turned from the window and approached the girl slowly. He lowered himself to the floor, careful, deliberate. His tail remained still. His eyes softened just enough. Emily stiffened but did not pull away. Rex rested his head near her knee, close enough to feel but not to touch. "He won't let them near you," Lucas said. "Neither will I." For the first time, Emily nodded without fear behind it. Outside, snow continued to fall, erasing tire tracks, hiding evidence. But the men who had left 2 children to die now knew something else. They had been seen, and witnesses were the one thing they could not afford. The threat was no longer just on the street. Jack Miller had learned long ago that danger rarely announced itself. It arrived quietly, disguised as coincidence, as routine, as people standing where they should not be. He had been a SEAL team leader for 12 years. Not the loud kind, not the ones who chased medals. Jack led by stillness, by noticing what others missed. Laura used to say that was why she trusted him with her fears. He listened the same way he watched a perimeter, patiently, completely. Laura Miller had been a software safety engineer at Helix Mobility Systems. She was 36 when she died, tall, slender, with dark auburn hair she never had time to style, and pale skin that freckled in the sun. She spoke softly, but her mind was sharp and relentless when it came to numbers and systems. Laura believed technology should protect people, not impress investors. 3 months before her death, she found a flaw in Helix's autonomous navigation software, a rare edge case failure triggered by spring thaw, wet asphalt, and reflected light. Vehicles misjudged stopping distance by less than a second. Less than a second was enough. She documented everything. She pushed reports up the chain. She was told she was overreacting. When she refused to let it go, her access was reduced, then reassigned, then ignored. The accident happened anyway. Jack never received an apology, only silence and legal language. Claire Donovan had not been responsible for that silence, not directly, but she had inherited a company trained to protect itself first. Jack knew that pattern well. He had seen it in war zones, seen it in boardrooms, different uniforms, same instincts. When Claire asked him to help quietly review Helix's legacy systems, Jack agreed for one reason only: truth. He worked nights after Emily slept. Code was not foreign to him. Laura had taught him enough that he could follow logic like a map. He noticed gaps, missing logs, clean deletions that didn't match organic decay. Someone had been careful, and someone was still watching. The first sign was a gray sedan parked across the street from his apartment 3 mornings in a row. No plates he recognized. Engine off. Driver never visible. The second sign was the man at the grocery store. Mid-30s, average height, brown beard trimmed too neatly for Missoula. He pretended to study cereal while tracking Jack's reflection in the freezer door. The third sign came at night. Jack and Rex walked to their usual route just after 10. Spring air cool, ground damp with melting snow. Rex stayed close, shoulder brushing Jack's knee. His ears shifted constantly, reading echoes Jack could not hear. Halfway down the block, Rex slowed. Jack felt it too, the pressure, the wrongness. Footsteps behind them, to-do measured, matching pace. Jack did not turn. He adjusted his grip on the leash and slowed just enough to confirm it. The steps slowed with him. Rex stopped. He pivoted smoothly, planting his feet, body squared toward the sound. His spine straightened, tail still, head level. A working stance. A warning written in muscle and intent. The footsteps stopped. A man stood under a street lamp 20 yards back, late 20s. Hood pulled low, thin frame, hands in pockets. He had the look of someone paid to do things he did not want to explain later. Rex stared at him, not barking, not growling, waiting. Jack turned then, finally, his face calm, eyes empty of emotion. He said nothing. The man shifted, took one step backward, then another. He turned and walked away, fast but not running. Jack waited until the sound was gone. "Good," he murmured to Rex. At Helix headquarters, Claire was having her own reckoning. Sarah Langford sat across from her in the conference room. sunlight cutting across the polished table between them. Sarah was 45, tall and lean, with silver blonde hair cut just above her shoulders. Her skin was weathered by years of travel and late nights, not age. She wore no jewelry except a simple watch. Her eyes were sharp blue, observant, shaped by years as Helix's former head of compliance. She had resigned 2 years earlier, quietly. "I warned them," Sarah said now, voice steady but tired. "About Laura, about the risk, about the cover-up." Claire signed as she spoke, her movements precise but tense. "Why didn't you go public?" Sarah's jaw tightened. "Because I was threatened, and because I was afraid I'd lose the only leverage I had left." She slid a folder across the table. Inside were internal emails, redacted reports, a chain of approvals that stopped just short of names Claire recognized too well. Claire closed her eyes briefly. Outside, a man in a dark jacket lingered near the building entrance, pretending to scroll on his phone. Security cameras would see nothing unusual. That night, Claire sent Jack a single message. "They know you're looking. Be careful." Jack replied seconds later. "I already am." Rex lifted his head as Jack set the phone down. He moved closer to Emily's bedroom door, settling there without command. Guarding. Jack sat in the dark, laptop closed, listening to the quiet breathing of his daughter behind the wall. The threat had shifted. It was no longer careless men in coffee shops. It was organized, intentional. And someone had underestimated one thing. They had forgotten what a SEAL looked like when he stopped avoiding the fight. The silent investigation. A scheme exposed, morning came gray and thin, light filtering through clouds like it had second thoughts. Lucas Grant stood at the edge of the dirt road where the 3 trucks had turned around the night before. Snow still covered most of the ground, but not enough to hide everything. He moved slowly, deliberately, weight favoring his good leg, eyes scanning details most people never noticed. Rex worked beside him without a word. The German Shepherd's nose hovered inches above the snow, breath steady, movements precise. At 5 years old, Rex was in the full strength of his working life. His black and tan coat blended strangely well with the winter shadows. Every few steps, he paused, head tilting, amber eyes narrowing as if the ground itself were speaking to him. Lucas followed the line of tire tracks. 3 vehicles, 2 newer, 1 older. The older one had a slight wobble in the rear alignment. That detail mattered. People who rushed didn't fix things. People who planned didn't leave witnesses. The children slept back at the cabin, wrapped in borrowed warmth and guarded by locked doors. Lucas had made sure of that before stepping outside. Rex knew it too. Every glance the dog cast toward the trees was a reminder that protection never stopped. By mid-morning, Lucas drove into town. Flagstaff looked calm on the surface. Coffee shops opened. Locals brushed snow from storefronts. Holiday decorations still hung, slightly crooked, pretending nothing ugly had brushed past them days earlier. Lucas parked near a small diner and stepped inside. That was where he met Sarah Whitman. She stood behind the counter, wiping down cups with methodical care. Early 40s, tall, lean, with shoulders squared by years of handling things on her own. Her hair was a muted blonde, pulled into a loose braid streaked with silver she didn't bother hiding. Her skin was weathered, not from age but from long winters and longer days. Her eyes were sharp, gray-blue, the kind that noticed who came in and why. She looked up as Lucas approached. "You're not from around here," she said. Lucas didn't smile. "Neither are the men who came through last night." That caught her attention. Sarah set the cup down carefully. "That so?" "They passed by here," Lucas continued. "Red truck, rusted panels, 2 others with it." Her jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I've seen them," she said. "Didn't like the way they looked at people." Rex sat at Lucas's side, calm, still, watching Sarah with quiet assessment. She glanced at the dog, then back to Lucas. "Military?" she asked softly. "Yes." That was enough. Sarah leaned closer, lowering her voice. "They don't stay long, never sleep here, always passing through, always with different kids." Lucas's gaze sharpened. "Kids," he repeated. Sarah nodded once. "Never the same ones, never older than 10. Lucas felt the old anger stir again, controlled, focused. "They heading anywhere specific?" he asked. She hesitated, then spoke. "There's a stretch of highway south of town. Old warehouse by the tree line, no sign, no lights at night, but trucks come and go." Lucas thanked her and left a few bills on the counter she didn't bother counting. Outside, Rex's posture changed. Lucas followed his line of sight. Across the street, a man leaned against a lamppost pretending to check his phone. Mid-30s, brown jacket, trimmed beard, clean boots that didn't match the slush. Too clean. The man looked up. Their eyes met. Rex stiffened. Lucas didn't break stride. He walked past, calm, unhurried. Rex matched his pace perfectly. No reaction, no signal. They didn't need to chase, they needed confirmation. That afternoon, Lucas returned to the forest road. Rex led him deeper this time, off the main path, toward where snow had been disturbed and then covered again. The dog stopped near a cluster of trees and sniffed the air, ears angling forward. Lucas crouched, wincing slightly as his knee protested. There, half buried beneath pine needles, lay a discarded blanket. Cheap, synthetic, the kind used once and thrown away. Lucas closed his eyes. Emily and Jacob had not been abandoned because no one wanted them. They had been discarded because someone decided they were inconvenient. Back at the cabin, Emily sat by the window, watching Rex approach with Lucas. Her face had color now, but her eyes still held caution. "Did you find them?" she asked. "I found where they have been," Lucas said. She nodded, as if she had expected nothing less. "They don't stop," she said quietly. "They just move." Lucas knelt in front of her. "Then we stop them." Rex lay down at Emily's feet, a living barrier. Lucas straightened, mind already mapping next steps. Evidence, timing, law enforcement that could be trusted. The men who thought they had erased their mistake were wrong. They had drawn the attention of someone who knew how to hunt patiently, and Rex, silent and relentless, would make sure they were never alone again. Precision at dawn, and a town that breathed again. Dawn did not arrive gently. It crept in pale and cold, the sky the color of old steel, when most people were still asleep and the world was quiet enough to hear its own mistakes. Lucas Grant moved through that quiet with the discipline of a man who had learned that timing mattered more than force. The old warehouse sat south of Flagstaff, half swallowed by pines and neglect. Its metal siding was rusted, paint blistered, doors chained but never locked the same way twice. Tracks led in and out at irregular hours, the kind of place people drove past without looking twice. Lucas did not drive past. He parked a mile away, engine off, lights dark. The pain in his left knee pulsed as he stepped out, but he welcomed it. Pain meant focus. He adjusted the collar of his navy coat and gave a single glance to Rex. The German Shepherd was already working. Rex moved low and silent, 5 years old and perfectly tuned for this kind of task. His black and tan coat blended into shadow, muscles shifting smoothly beneath his harness. His ears flicked once, catching a sound Lucas could not. A faint engine idle. Voices, movement inside. Rex paused, looking back. Lucas nodded. They advanced. The men inside the warehouse were careless. They always were at the end. Comfort made people sloppy. Two stood near the loading door, both mid-30s, jackets open, hands shoved into pockets. One had a thick red beard and a crooked nose that suggested past fights lost and won. The other was lean, dark-haired, eyes restless, chewing on a toothpick. Neither noticed Rex until he was already behind them. He did not bark. He did not lunge. He stood between them and the exit, body squared, eyes locked, teeth visible but restrained. A living warning. Lucas stepped into view. "On the ground," he said. His voice carried no anger, no hesitation. Training spoke for him. The bearded man reached for his waistband. Rex took one step forward. That was enough. The man froze, breath hitching, eyes wide as the realization hit him. This was not a dog to test. This was a dog that ended problems. Inside, the leader turned. The older man Lucas had seen before stepped into the light. Same pale eyes, same controlled posture. His gray beard was neatly trimmed, his jacket clean despite the grime around him. He smiled thinly, as if respect and hatred lived side by side in him. "You've been busy," the man said. Lucas didn't respond. He moved. What followed was quick, efficient, no wasted motion. Lucas disarmed one man, pinned another, using leverage rather than strength. Rex held the line, shifting only when necessary, cutting off every attempted escape with silent authority. When sirens finally sounded in the distance, the floor was cold beneath restrained bodies, and the warehouse was quiet again. It had taken less than 4 minutes. By the time the sheriff arrived, Lucas was standing outside, Rex seated at his side, breath steady. The men were alive, shaken, finished. Sheriff Tom Caldwell approached, hat low, shoulders heavy with years of small-town compromises. He was in his late 50s, broad through the chest, hair gone gray at the temples, mustache thick and carefully kept. His eyes flicked from Lucas to Rex and back again. "You the one who called it in?" Caldwell asked. "Yes." Caldwell studied the warehouse, then the men being loaded into cruisers. He exhaled slowly. "We should have seen this sooner," he said. Lucas met his gaze. "You see it now." Caldwell nodded once. That was all. Weeks passed. Snow melted, roads cleared, fear loosened its grip on Flagstaff. The town gathered in the square one evening for a late Christmas celebration, lights strung between lampposts, candles glowing in paper holders. Voices rose in song, tentative at first, then stronger. Emily stood near the front, bundled in a borrowed coat that fit her better now. Her face was fuller, her eyes brighter. She held Jacob on her hip, his small fingers clutching at her scarf, laughter bubbling from him like something newly discovered. Lucas stood a step behind them. Rex lay at his feet, calm, watchful, content. Sarah Whitman moved through the crowd with trays of cookies, her braid loose now, cheeks flushed from the cold. She paused beside Lucas. "Town feels different," she said. "It is," Lucas replied. Emily turned, looking up at him. "I don't hear them anymore," she said softly. "In my dreams." Lucas knelt, careful of his knee, bringing himself level with her. "They're gone," he said. "They can't hurt anyone here again." She nodded, then leaned forward, resting her head briefly against his shoulder, just long enough. Rex shifted closer, pressing warm fur against her side. As the town sang, candles flickering against the dark, people looked at the man and the dog and understood something without needing it explained. Protection did not always come loudly. Sometimes it arrived quietly, stood its ground, and refused to leave. For the men who had hunted children, the lesson was permanent. There were places winter could not claim, and there were children who were no longer alone. Some people call it luck, others call it timing. But on that frozen Christmas night, when a child's life hung by a thread, it felt like something more. Maybe it was a reminder that God still watches the quiet roads, that even in the coldest places, mercy can arrive through ordinary hands, through a man willing to stand firm, through a loyal dog who would not step aside, through courage placed exactly where it was needed. In our daily lives, we may never face a blizzard like that one, but we all meet moments where someone needs protection, patience, or hope, a kind word, a steady presence, a choice to do what is right, even when it costs us comfort. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to believe that goodness still acts. Leave a comment telling us where you are watching from and what gives you strength in hard times. And subscribe to this channel for more stories of courage, justice, and quiet miracles. May God bless you and keep you safe. May He protect your family, guide your steps, and bring light to your darkest winter nights.